All right, so here's something you probably weren't expecting to hear today. IKEA might be coming to Gurnee Mills. And no, not just another one of those little pickup points where you grab your Swedish meatballs and go. We're talking about a real, actual smaller format IKEA store. And get this, the village of Gurnee is so confident this is happening that they just approved putting up to $2 million behind it. Let me paint you a picture of what's going on here, because this is honestly one of the most fascinating retail stories I've come across in a while. You know that massive Sears Grand that used to be at Gurnee Mills, the one that closed back in 2018? Well, it's been getting carved up like a Thanksgiving turkey. Hobby Lobby took the middle portion in 2022. Round 1, bowling and arcade opened in the right portion this past summer, but there's still this roughly 66,000 square foot chunk on the left side that's been sitting empty for over 6 years now. That's a lot of dead space in a mall that otherwise seems to be doing pretty well. Now here's where it gets interesting. At a recent Gurnee Village board meeting, Simon Property Group, the company that owns Gurnee Mills, came in with a proposal. They're planning a $12 million renovation of that remaining space. Simon's putting in $6 million, the retailer coming in is putting in $6 million, and they're asking the village to kick in up to $2 million over 6 years. The village officials were cagey about naming names. Jocelyn Gubler from Simon Property Group described the incoming retailer as a popular, budget-friendly home goods retailer that's been launching smaller format stores. She mentioned that this retailer has been rolling out these new concepts as a complement to their larger warehouse-style stores across 27 states and territories. And then she dropped this little breadcrumb. One of these stores just opened in San Marcos, Texas earlier this year. Oh, and the company started in 1943 as a mail-order business. I mean, come on. They basically described IKEA without saying IKEA. It's like playing retail charades. And just to be clear, IKEA opened a 35,000 square foot small format store in San Marcos, Texas in July of this year. IKEA was founded in 1943 in Sweden by a 17-year-old named Ingvar Kamprad who started by selling pens, wallets, and picture frames through mail order. The pieces fit together pretty perfectly, kind of like, IKEA furniture. If you've ever assembled a Billy bookshelf at 2 a.m. questioning your life choices. But here's what makes this actually significant. This would be IKEA's 10th small format store in the United States. And this is part of a massive shift in how IKEA operates. See, IKEA has been investing $2.2 billion since 2023 to completely reimagine their American presence. They're opening 8 new small format locations just in 2025 alone. Places like Cherry Hill, Pennsylvania, Hunt Valley, Maryland, Beaverton, Oregon, Scottsdale, Arizona, and several California locations. These aren't your traditional IKEA warehouses. Those massive blue and yellow boxes typically run around 300,000 square feet. You know the ones where you walk in thinking you'll just grab a lamp and 3 hours later you're lost in the marketplace section with a cart full of Swedish candy and wondering how you ended up with 17 throw pillows. The Gurnee store would be more like 66,000 square feet based on the available space, which would make it one of their larger small format stores but still a fraction of a traditional IKEA. The concept is pretty clever actually. These smaller stores have a showroom. The Gurnee plans call for about 17,000 square feet of showroom space. Then there's a market hall of around 20,000 square feet where you can pick up smaller items and food products. And they're including a 4,000 square foot fast casual dining area. Because let's be honest, you can't have IKEA without the meatballs. That would be like having Costco without the hot dog combo. It's just wrong. What you won't find is a massive warehouse where you can load up a flatbed cart and take everything home that day. Instead, you can order anything from IKEA's full catalog for delivery or pickup. It's essentially combining the planning and browsing experience of a traditional IKEA with the convenience of modern e-commerce and last-mile fulfillment. Now, let's talk about why Gurnee is willing to put $2 million into this deal, because that's taxpayer money and it needs to make sense. According to Gurnee Economic Development Director Ellen Dean, they're projecting this store to generate over $500,000 in sales tax revenue annually for the village. The deal is structured so that for the first 6 years, the village gets the first $200,000 in sales tax, then rebates everything above that back to the mall to help cover construction costs. After those 6 years, the village keeps all the sales tax revenue. So they're basically betting that this store will generate at least $500,000 a year in sales tax, which is actually a pretty conservative estimate for a home goods retailer of this size. The village board voted unanimously to approve this. One trustee even said, "This is something that is meant for Gurnee." And honestly, when you think about the location, it kind of is. Gurnie Mills sits right between Chicago and Milwaukee, strategically positioned to pull customers from both metro areas. It's already got over 20 million visitors a year. That's the kind of foot traffic that makes retailers salivate. But here's the broader context that makes this story even more interesting. Malls are dying, or at least traditional malls are dying. As of 2025, there are only about 1,200 malls left in the United States, and projections suggest only around 900 will still be operating by 2028. Some research indicates that 87% of large shopping malls could shut down within the next decade. That's apocalyptic. Store closures in 2025 are up 67% compared to last year. In the first half of 2025 alone, nearly 6 million more square feet of retail space was vacated than was occupied. Mall vacancy rates have jumped from about 5% in 2024 to roughly 9% now. Class C malls, the struggling ones with less than $300 in annual sales per square foot, have vacancy rates over 13%. But Gurnie Mills isn't one of those struggling malls. It's the third largest mall in Illinois, and it's been remarkably successful at adapting. While other malls are turning into dead zones or getting converted into apartments, which is actually happening at about 192 malls across the country, Gurnee Mills has been filling its vacant anchor spaces strategically. When department stores started collapsing, Gurnee Mills pivoted. They brought in experiential retail like Round One Bowling and Arcade. They added variety retailers like Hobby Lobby. They've got Bass Pro Shops, Dick's Sporting Goods, Marcus Theaters, and they're opening stores like Boot Barn and Primark. This isn't your grandmother's department store mall anymore. This is a destination. And that's exactly what IKEA wants. Their CEO, Javier Quiñones, has been very clear about their strategy. We want to bring IKEA close to where people live, work, socialize, and shop. Traditional IKEA stores require massive footprints on cheap land, usually on the outskirts of metro areas. The IKEA in Schaumburg, Illinois, the nearest full-size store to Gurnee, is a 450,000 square foot behemoth. It's amazing, but it's also a 40-minute drive from many Chicago suburbs, and that's if traffic is cooperating, which in Chicago, let's be honest, it's not. The small format stores let IKEA get into urban and suburban locations where they couldn't build a massive warehouse. They opened one at the Domain in Austin, Texas, a trendy mixed-use development. They're opening stores and shopping centers in Maryland, Oregon, Arizona, Pennsylvania. These are convenient locations where people already go to shop. It's about meeting customers where they are rather than making them trek out to the middle of nowhere to buy a POANG chair. The timing of construction is also interesting. They're looking to break ground in January or February of 2026 with a targeted opening for the 2026 holiday season. That would put this store online right in time for the crucial fourth quarter, when home goods retailers can make or break their entire year. Black Friday, Christmas shopping, New Year's resolution home organizing, that's prime IKEA season. For mall operators like Simon Property Group, getting IKEA into a mall is a pretty big win. IKEA has a cult following. People drive hours to go to IKEA. They make a day of it. And when you bring that kind of destination retailer into a mall, they don't just shop at IKEA, they shop at the other stores too. They eat at the restaurants, they bring their families. It's the kind of anchor tenant that actually drives traffic rather than just taking up space. And let's be real about what's happening to retail real estate. The traditional department store anchor model is dead. Sears, JCPenney, Macy's, they're all closing hundreds of stores. The Sears Grand that used to be at Gurnee Mills, that was a 201,000 square foot store when it opened in 2004. It was supposed to be this revolutionary hypermarket concept, combining traditional Sears merchandise with groceries and other goods. It lasted 14 years. Sears closed it in 2018 as part of their death spiral, and honestly, by the time it closed, nobody was surprised. What replaces these massive boxes? Well, you've got a few options. Some malls are getting demolished entirely. Some are being converted into mixed-use developments with apartments, medical offices, and community spaces. Some are just becoming ghost towns. But the smart ones, like Gurnee Mills, are adapting. They're thinking smaller, more diverse, more experiential. Instead of one massive department store, you get 3 or 4 different concepts that each serve a specific purpose. The IKEA model fits perfectly into this new reality. They're not trying to be everything to everyone. They're focused. Home goods, furniture, kitchen planning, some food items, they know what they do well. And because it's a smaller format, the economics work differently. Traditional IKEAs need to sell massive volumes to justify their footprint. These smaller stores have lower overhead, lower rent, and they can be profitable with more modest sales figures. And there's also something democratizing about this. Not everyone lives near a full-size IKEA. The current IKEA locations in Illinois are in Schaumburg, Bolingbrook, and there's one down in Champaign. If you're living in Waukegan, Kenosha, or the northern suburbs, Gurnee Mills is way more accessible than driving all the way to Schaumburg. And let's face it, IKEA democratizes decent design. You don't need to be wealthy to have a halfway decent looking home if you shop at IKEA. Is the furniture going to last forever? No, but for $200 you can get a couch that doesn't look terrible. That matters. The other piece of this that I find fascinating is how it reflects broader retail trends. E-commerce hasn't killed physical retail, it's transformed it. In 2023, e-commerce accounted for about 15.4% of total retail sales in the US. That's significant, but it means 85% of retail is still happening in physical stores. What's changed is how people use those stores. People research online, then they want to see and touch products in person before buying. Or they want expert help planning something complex like a kitchen remodel, or they want the instant gratification of walking out with something today. The small format IKEA model accommodates all of these behaviors. You can browse room settings, meet with design consultants, place orders for delivery, or grab smaller items to take home immediately. It's omni-channel retail done right. I should mention, IKEA already has a pickup point at Gurnee Mills. It's been there since 2023. It's basically a small counter where you can collect online orders. But that's very different from a full store with showrooms, product displays, a restaurant, and design consultants. The pickup point is just logistics. The store is an experience, and people want experiences. That's another thing malls are figuring out. You can't compete with Amazon on convenience or selection for commodity goods, but you can compete on experience. Netflix is opening Netflix house locations where former department stores are being turned into experiential venues based on their shows. You've got luxury brands opening boutique locations in premium malls. You've got food halls, entertainment venues, fitness centers. Malls are becoming less about transactional shopping and more about being community gathering spaces. Gurnie Mills is already good at this. They've got round one with bowling and arcade games. They've got an ice arena. They've got movie theaters. Adding IKEA fits into that experiential strategy. Going to IKEA is an experience, sometimes traumatic, often exhausting, but definitely an experience. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but IKEA hasn't been officially confirmed. True, the village officials won't confirm it on record, but come on, every single clue points to IKEA. The size, the format, the San Marcos reference, the 1943 founding, the fact that IKEA is aggressively rolling out exactly this format across the country. If it's not IKEA, it's the most elaborate misdirection since the producers of The Sixth Sense tried to hide Bruce Willis being dead. The construction timeline also makes sense. January-February 2026 groundbreaking gives them about 9 to 10 months to build out and open by late 2026. That's tight but doable for a store that's going into an existing structure. They're not building from the ground up, they're renovating an interior space. That's mostly drywall, fixtures, flooring, and mechanical systems. For a company like Simon Property Group that does this for a living, that's absolutely achievable. What I'm curious about is how this affects the broader Chicago IKEA ecosystem. The Schaumburg store is about 35 miles from Gurnee Mills. That's far enough that they're not really cannibalizing each other's customer base. You've got the northwest suburbs and the city folks going to Schaumburg, and you've got the north suburbs and Wisconsin shoppers going to Gurnee. The Bolingbrook store serves the southwest suburbs. There's actually pretty good geographic coverage, and honestly, I think there's room for more. The Chicago metro area has nearly 10 million people. IKEA has only 3 full-size stores and 1 pickup point serving that entire market. For comparison, the Los Angeles metro area has about 13 million people, and IKEA is opening multiple small format stores there. There's definitely unmet demand. The other thing that's worth noting, IKEA's sales in the US hit $7.4 billion in 2024, and they're projecting growth. Part of that growth strategy is these small format stores. They opened 8 in their 2024 fiscal year. They're opening 8 more in 2025, and they're clearly not slowing down. The Gurnee store would be part of that expansion continuing into 2026. From a broader economic perspective, this is the kind of retail evolution we're seeing everywhere. Big box retail isn't dead, but it's being reimagined. Smaller, more flexible, more experiential, more integrated with e-commerce. The retailers that are succeeding are the ones that understand they need to give people a reason to leave their house beyond just buying stuff, because you can buy stuff from your couch. But you can't test out a couch from your couch. Well, I guess technically you're testing your current couch, but you know what I mean. The sales tax projections are also telling. $500,000 annually is substantial for a municipality the size of Gurnee. That's money that goes toward infrastructure, schools, public services. And unlike a distribution center or warehouse that just takes up space, a retail store like this employs people locally. These small format IKEAs typically employ 50 to 100 people. Those are jobs in design consulting, customer service, food service, logistics, management. That's payroll hitting the local economy. So here's the bottom line. Whether it's officially IKEA or not, this move signals that Gurnee Mills is not just surviving the retail apocalypse, it's actually thriving. They're being smart about tenant mix, strategic about filling spaces, and proactive about bringing in retailers that will drive traffic and sales. If I had to make a prediction, I'd say this store opens in November 2026, just in time for Black Friday. They'll do a big grand opening, there'll be line around the building, they'll give away some blowhard sharks to the first 100 customers, and within 6 months, everyone will just accept that this is where you go to buy furniture in the northern suburbs. And in 5 years, when someone asks, hey, remember when there used to be a Sears Grand at Gurnee Mills? People will look at them blankly and say, no, there's an IKEA there. There's always been an IKEA there. That's how retail evolution works. The old dies, the new takes its place, and within a few years, nobody even remembers what used to be there. Except for retail nerds like me who get way too excited about mall redevelopment projects and spend their weekends researching municipal board meetings. But hey, at least we'll be able to get Swedish meatballs a little closer to home.